Welcome to Subscription Prescription, the podcast where you get the information you need to scale your subscription program. Hello and welcome to another dose of Subscription Prescription. I'm your host, Matthew Holman. This is the podcast where we help you figure out everything related to D2C subscriptions. And we are live from SubSummit in Dallas. And I'm here with Lina Tonk, the CMO of Recurly. Lina, thanks for coming on the show.
No, thanks so much for having me. Exciting that we're doing this live.
Absolutely. So we're just kind of like in a different part of the conference right now. It's kind of fun looking for a quiet spot where people aren't working and stuff. Exactly. But it's great to meet you. I'm really excited. We've been looking forward to this interview for a while. I'd love for you to start out and just tell us a little bit more about you and your background and how you got into the subscription space with Recurly.
Yeah. So when we were walking, we talked a little bit about this, but I come from, I've been in DaaS my whole career, but I come from HCM tech, actually. And when this opportunity came around, I was looking for a market that really is kind of looking to shape the future. That is fast-moving, pivoting. It's probably how people probably describe me a little bit too. And when I was put in front of subscriptions, I'm like, there's so much opportunity and there's so much that is going to happen. I started Recurly about over a year ago, along with our CEO, Joe, who started in January of last year. And it's been an exciting year of growth for us. I've always been a marketer at heart, but also kind of like a culture shifter of brand. So you probably saw our brand change last year, which I believe gave us a lot of, power into that growth. It's very, very involved when it comes creatively to brands, what they're doing, and subscriptions is doing a lot of that right now. They're rebranding, they're rechanging, pivoting. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm originally from South America, from Colombia, South America.
Well, it's fantastic. Well, and for those of you that are listening and watching at home, we talk a ton of stuff related to D2C subscriptions, and I often use memberships as a great way to explain great user experiences. And Recurly is a platform that kind of bridges a lot of different industries. You guys are powering like Twitch, Cinemark, which we're talking a little bit offline, their movie membership app, which we've talked a lot about on this show, as well as now you now have a Shopify presence with your acquisition of Prior, right?
Yeah, we do. And that's probably one of the most exciting things for us this year. So we've seen, if I look back, we've been very established in the subscription management as platform. We've been very established. I think where we made the shift a year ago is we wanted to innovate what we already have because of the amount of data that we have available to us. And then what did that mean for e-commerce and what we were going to do for e-commerce, and were we going to go all the way down that route, which obviously we did with the acquisition. But there's a component of having all this data available to be able to drive what we're doing ahead and drive what we're doing within e-commerce. Right now, the space is vastly changing because AI not only has a lag for what I would say within the space within 2 years, but no, it's like now the future of AI, and it's a whole different ballgame. So yeah, I think for us, we're very proud about the recent acquisition, but you mentioned even experience, right? We were very strategic about the two acquisitions that we had at the very same time. So we go Pride and we did Redfast, and with Redfast, we'll talk a little bit about retention, but life cycle and engagement and everything that you have to have the ability to have in order to just go after that future. So yeah, I feel like we're changing the game a little bit. I think like subscriptions are changing the game, period.
They are. They really are. So I do want to say too, one of my favorite sessions at SubSummit the last few years is you guys will often do a data presentation. Recurly will show, you mentioned that data. That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you. You have a data subscriptions report. You have access to so many different trends. And while it's not always the same industry, but it is very much looking at consumer behavior. So you're saying the subscription space is changing, it's developing. I would love to hear some of the ways you're seeing the space is developing, it is moving forward, whether that's AI or personalization or any aspect.
Yeah, so there's a few things, but I think the key element from the state of subscriptions that was I don't think surprising, but it also it's a big change on data when you look at subscriber acquisition went from 4% to 2%.
Right.
So it's not what people are going to invest on immediately. They're going to more invest on their subscribers and on the retention of the subscribers. And retention is the number one driver for everyone right now. So when we think of retention, I mean, retention is so exciting. And I know people hear the word retention, it's like, oh, but it is so exciting because retention is where you actually change the way people feel
Right.
about your brand and what you're providing to them. So that to me is exciting because now we're touching people. Now we're changing the gauge. So with the state of subscriptions, like what's really good about it is that when we collect all this data and we're not doing it uniquely to one industry or the other one, when we're collecting all this data, we start looking at the trends and what's driving people to do the things that they're doing. And when we look at retention, taking, going up to the right and then subscriber acquisition going a little bit down, within you find yourself on this middle point on, you have to ask yourself, if you're in subscriptions, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing right now with what I'm providing in order to impact subscriber experience? And that goes with personalization, the ability to click and say, the ability to provide promotions, the ability to let you cancel but then pause. I mean, there's law behind it too, right? That is what I believe the set of subscriptions that's really well is it gives us the ability to look at so much data, but also kind of provide our brands that we're working with and anyone within the market to just take a look and say, okay, let me take a pause and understand what am I really doing for my subscribers?
And that's something that we're seeing as well. We see a lot of, I get asked these questions all the time. How do I see the space? How's it maturing or not? And we see some slowdown for some brands, but others that are just absolute rocket ships. And I do think the biggest differentiator when I see it is focus. When a brand is focusing on the subscriber experience, they're unlocking both the growth as well as a stronger retention play. And brands that are struggling with it, it's because it's not something that they put a lot of resources into, right?
I think so too. And like when you think about it, most brands will say, well, let's go and invest on acquiring, getting more people and getting more prospects or getting more subscribers. And when they leave this group behind that actually has been loyal to them, then the experience that they have is not going to transfer over to the ones that are looking. Look, we are all subscribers of 1,000 things. I used to say 2 years ago, we're all subscribers of 1 or 2 things. And today we can all say we need to go figure out how many subscriptions because it becomes so easy. But not only easy is giving us something, is providing us a service, is giving us back. And so we're all shopping also very differently. So I'm likely going to ask, and I do this a lot. I ask people, what are your 2 favorite apps right now? And then you learn so much about what people are doing. That's how people are shopping. And then when you don't concentrate on this loyalty group, then the experience that they have and the ability that they have to leave you and leave you and not come back is greater than anything. I think I'm fascinated. When I think of subscriptions, I'm also fascinated. And we're seeing this with our acquisition of that pass. I'm fascinated with the possibilities that we have to be able to impact those loyalty groups. So whether you want loyalty programs or tier programs or the clicks and saves and how you're making subscribers feel about your brand, it is so easy today. And that's something that we didn't have before.
What are some of the ways you're seeing in the data, like the top reasons why people stay on subscriptions?
Yes. That's a great question, by the way. So I was just with a group of customers. We were out in New York at a dinner, and I asked them this question, not that one specific, but I say, how do you want that loyalty to be? If I'm paying you and I'm subscribed, but I'm not using your app right now, your service right now, do you want me there or do you not want me? The answer was so interesting. The 80% of the group said, we don't want you because you're actually not getting any value from us. So that's where I'm kind of connecting it to your question, because at the end of the day is you have to have people. You have to be really able to provide value. Your people have to be getting something out of what you're receiving in order to stay and in order to feel whatever you're making them feel what you're providing.
It's so funny because we had this discussion in my consultancy just yesterday where I was saying, if they're not getting value from our consulting, then we need to figure out we don't need to be working with them. Like, and it's not like an angry, mad thing. It's, hey, you're not seeing value from us, or we're not providing value for you. Like, you don't need to keep paying us. That's interesting because I think a lot of small businesses would say the opposite. We're happy to have people that are subscribed, that are just whatever. But I do agree with you. And the question I've actually asked a lot of people, I've been a Dollar Shave Club subscriber up until recently for like almost 8 years. And I was getting just replacement razors like every 3 months. So very, very little. I never bought an upsell. I never tried another product. I was the most benign subscriber. And I've always wanted to ask their data team, am I a good LTV customer or am I a bad LTV customer? Because I'm not interested in anything else you're doing other than that one single product. So it's a good question. So brands that aren't delivering value is a big thing. Are you seeing any other trends with how they're changing their subscriptions? Are they trying new products? Are they shifting to other apps or services within the app? What were you seeing?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think cancellation is a big one. So I think we have one of our reports that shows cancellation is in goodbye, and that's 100% true. So most will say, well, if they're canceling, they're gone. Like, they're absolutely gone. No, your strategy on that cancellation has to be, if it was someone that was engaged with you, keep serving them. They're canceling for a reason at this moment. So that's when cancellation on pausing is incredibly powerful. Like, make it easy for them to cancel. The experience they have with you when they're pausing and they're canceling is the experience that they're going to remember from you.
So I love talking about the Cinemark app because while I'm not currently a member, I've been a member for so long, but they still have my movie credits available to me. So even though I canceled a while ago, because my wife and I aren't going to that theater as much as we are to a different theater that's close to us, I've used those credits recently. Like, I saw a movie last week, and I saw Tom Cruise's new movie, by the way, and I used movie credits for that, and that's what I just love about that membership experience. I am never gonna not go back because of a bad experience.
That's exactly.
As soon as it's more convenient for me, I'm going to resubscribe and get all of those benefits. And I think most brands don't think of cancellation that way. They think of it as the metaphor I like to use is like a building's on fire and you're trying to keep people from leaving.
Yeah. And how do I keep you from leaving? And I almost make that experience so negative too. Like, make it easy. That's where I think pausing is. Make pausing so easy and give so many options of pausing. That's another thing that we have uncovered through data and talking to customers, merchants that are trying to work through that is pausing is no longer like pause and you can give them options of pausing for a month, pause for 2 weeks, pause for 12 months. So you definitely need the technology that is going to be able to support that kind of customization, but customization, so like personalization, right? Because they're talking to you specifically. We know that he's been a long-time subscriber. He's left us. We don't know that you're going to come back. But our ideal is that you are. So pausing becomes like such a great strategy. But now on the cancellation side, too, is people do leave, but when they have a good experience with a brand, they all tend to come back, just kind of like the experience that you have. But it's just becoming like so incredibly, and I'm going to sound like a true marketer here, but becoming so incredibly creative about the things that you're offering for them to come back to you. So I'll speak of one of my absolutely favorite company. I happened to be a subscriber for a while before I joined Recurly, by the way. So like I can come super plain, and the president and I have talked about this is Nui. And as I started merging, like getting into the world of subscriptions, I realized like all the possibilities that they have, and that's how I started making the connection with subscriber engagement and loyalty and personalization, and what technology can actually do for some of these brands. We just wrote a great way to study them for me. It's so exciting, right? And we just recently did a case study with them. But one of the things that I learned along the way, even as a subscriber, is that the possibilities that they have to give me the value of what I'm trying to get, even when I have costs, for example, and the flexibility that I have, but then being able to do that for like millions of subscribers, but doing it through technology. So I think that's what's fascinating about where the technology is going. Trolley takes me into the next thing that we were talking about earlier when we were walking. It's like, where subscriptions going? Like, what does the future look like? And I keep saying the future is now. Like, the future has arrived and it's right here, right now. We've been talking about AI for a while, but AI is going to drive a big part of this. And what I think is good for us is the ability that we have to have all this data and then turn that data into predictive.
I was just going to say predictive, understanding who needs an offer and when,
Right.
what types of offers are going to bring certain people back or not.
Yeah. And today we just released, so we just had our largest release that Recurly has had in history in the spring. And part of that was the beginning of AI for us. And it's just the beginning. And you do have the ability as a merchant to arrive and like start playing with different offers and what others are doing. And like, this is where I'm going to be if I don't take action on this or do that. But it's the data, the overall data giving me that view. And then we are getting ready. 2025 will be releasing even further into that. Like we'll start with an agents and, being able to ask. And it's pretty fantastic too. And it's, the future of AI today, I think to many of us, it will be unknown. And what I keep telling everyone is you either get on that boat or you get off it. And being on it is super exciting because
it's going to unlock a whole new level of interaction and engagement for a brand at scale that wasn't really possible before. It's amazing. Okay. So Lina, thank you for coming on the show. I've got a final question for you because I know we've talked about, there's so many things and even at scale, there's so many things that you need to be doing. What is like one trait or tactic you're seeing work on the retention side? Something that's simple or straightforward that any brand of any size should be thinking about or doing.
So I would tell it 80 steps if they're starting, because we talk about small brands and what small brands can do, but then bigger brands are doing it to a different scale. I said start with pausing cancellation. What is your strategy there? And that will take them into the world of personalization, lifecycle engagement. That is for the unlocking of retention, is understanding your subscribers. What are you doing with them and what are you making them feel through technology?
That's fantastic. All right, Lina, well, thank you again for coming on the show. I hope you have a great conference. And for those of you who just tuned in, this has been another dose of Subscription Prescription. I'll see you all next week. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe so that you can get notified when new episodes come out each week on Tuesdays.